Modern nuclear weapons represent some of the most powerful and devastating tools ever created by humanity. They are a testament to our scientific ingenuity, but also a stark reminder of our capacity for destruction. Their destructive potential is orders of magnitude greater than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II, weapons which themselves redefined warfare and ushered in the atomic age. Here's a look at the shocking realities of their power, realities that extend far beyond a mushroom cloud and into the very fabric of our planet and our future. We've all seen the images of mushroom clouds, those eerie, iconic symbols of the atomic age. They loom large in our collective memory, a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for destruction. But what do they actually represent? Beyond the immediate visual impact, these clouds signify the unleashing of unimaginable energy. Modern thermonuclear weapons, such as hydrogen bombs, can yield explosive power in the megaton range. This means they are capable of releasing energy equivalent to millions of tons of TNT. That's millions of tons of TNT equivalent. The sheer scale of this power is almost beyond comprehension. To put that in perspective, the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, little boy, had a yield of 15 kilotons. That's 1,000, not million. Even this small bomb caused unprecedented devastation. Now imagine the Tsar bomber, the largest nuclear weapon ever tested, with a yield of 50 megatons, over 3,000 times more powerful than Little Boy. The energy released was so immense, it shattered windows hundreds of miles away. The blast wave from a single modern warhead can level an entire city in an instant. The force would be enough to flatten buildings, uproot trees, and obliterate infrastructure. Buildings would be vaporized, concrete turned to dust. The landscape would be unrecognizable, a barren wasteland. The heat generated would be so intense that people wouldn't just burn, they'd be incinerated within a radius of miles. The temperatures would reach levels hotter than the surface of the sun. Those who survived the initial blast and inferno would face a far more insidious threat, radiation. This invisible killer would cause long-term health effects, including cancer and genetic damage, affecting generations to come. Beyond the immediate, visible destruction, nuclear weapons unleash an invisible killer radiation. This silent menace doesn't just vanish after the explosion, it lingers, seeping into the environment and the very fabric of life. This isn't your average X-ray. This is ionizing radiation, the kind that tears through cells, damages DNA, and leaves behind a legacy of suffering. It's a force that disrupts the natural order, causing chaos at a microscopic level. Fallout, as it's called, can spread over thousands of miles, carried by wind currents high into the atmosphere and then back down to Earth, contaminating land, water, and air. This invisible dust settles silently, creating zones of death and decay. Imagine a rain of radioactive particles, invisible but deadly, settling on everything you know. It infiltrates homes, schools, and workplaces, turning everyday life into a hazardous existence. For those who survive the initial blast, the nightmare is just beginning. The environment becomes a hostile entity, and survival means navigating through a poisoned world. Radiation sickness sets in, a gruesome collection of symptoms: nausea, vomiting, hair loss, internal bleeding. The body becomes a battleground, fighting an invisible enemy that shows no mercy. And then there's cancer, a ticking time bomb that can lie dormant for years before rearing its ugly head. The risk of developing cancer increases dramatically, casting a long shadow over the future. The long-term consequences of radiation exposure are horrific, impacting not just individuals but generations to come through birth defects and genetic mutations. The legacy of radiation is a haunting reminder of the destructive power of nuclear weapons. Now, imagine a full-scale nuclear war with hundreds or even thousands of these weapons detonated. The immediate devastation would be catastrophic, no doubt, but it's the long-term consequences that are truly terrifying. Consequences that could alter the very habitability of our planet. A large-scale nuclear exchange could trigger a nuclear winter. Picture this: massive firestorms ignited by the detonations would release millions of tons of soot and smoke into the atmosphere. This dense cloud would block out the sun, plunging the planet into a perpetual twilight. Temperatures would plummet, not just for days or weeks, but for years. Crops would fail worldwide, leading to mass starvation. The delicate balance of ecosystems would collapse, triggering mass extinction events. The term nuclear winter isn't some science fiction trope. It's a chillingly plausible scenario backed by scientific models and data. Chapter 4: A Global Catastrophe. Some might argue that a nuclear war would be a localized event contained to the warring nations, but that's a dangerously naive assumption. We live in an interconnected world, and the consequences of a nuclear conflict would know no borders. Studies estimate that even a limited nuclear war between two nations, say India and Pakistan, could inject enough soot into the atmosphere to cool the planet for years. This global dimming would disrupt agricultural cycles worldwide, leading to reduced food production and potentially billions of deaths from famine. The economic fallout would be equally devastating. Global trade would grind to a halt. Supply chains would collapse. The interconnectedness that defines our modern world would become our undoing. Chapter 5: A New Age of Nuclear Terror. The technology of nuclear weapons hasn't stood still since the Cold War. In fact, it's become even more sophisticated, more precise, and arguably more terrifying. Intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, can travel across continents in under 30 minutes, carrying their deadly payloads to targets thousands of miles away. Submarine-launched ballistic missiles, or SLBMs, provide a stealthy second strike capability, lurking unseen in the depths of the ocean, ready to launch a retaliatory strike even if a country's land-based assets have been destroyed. And then there are multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, or MIRVs. These are essentially split warheads, allowing a single missile to hit multiple targets simultaneously, increasing the destructive potential exponentially. The speed, accuracy, and sheer destructive power of modern nuclear weapons make the possibility of accidental launch or miscalculation a terrifying reality. Chapter 6: A Question of Morality. The sheer power of modern nuclear weapons raises profound ethical and moral questions. Questions that transcend political ideologies and national boundaries. These questions are not just theoretical, they have real-world implications that affect every single one of us. Can the use of such weapons, with their potential for indiscriminate destruction and long-term global consequences, ever be justified? The devastation witnessed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki serves as a grim reminder of the catastrophic impact these weapons can have. What responsibility do nuclear-armed nations have to prevent the proliferation of these weapons and to work towards their eventual elimination? International treaties and disarmament talks are steps in the right direction, but are they enough? The existence of nuclear weapons represents a paradox. On one hand, they are seen as a necessary evil, a means to maintain global stability. On the other hand, their very presence poses a constant threat to that same stability. They are weapons of unimaginable destruction, yet their very existence is often justified as a deterrent, a way to prevent war through the threat of mutually assured destruction. This doctrine of deterrence has been the cornerstone of nuclear policy for decades, but is this a sustainable path? The doomsday clock, a symbolic representation of how close we are to global catastrophe, continues to tick ominously closer to midnight. Can we truly live in a world where the fate of humanity rests on a delicate balance of terror, forever teetering on the brink of annihilation? The psychological toll of living under such a constant threat is immense. These are not easy questions, but they are questions we must grapple with. Ethical debates and public discussions are crucial in shaping our collective future. The future of civilization may depend on it. The choices we make today will determine the world we leave for future generations. It is a question of morality, and it is one that demands our urgent attention. Outro, our collective responsibility. Modern nuclear weapons are a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for destruction. They represent the pinnacle of our technological prowess, but also the potential for our own self-destruction. While they serve as a deterrent, their existence also poses one of the greatest existential risks to life on Earth. The shocking truth is that their power could end civilization as we know it in a matter of hours. This underscores the importance of disarmament efforts, diplomacy and global cooperation to prevent their use. The future of our species and indeed